Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Krista and this is the fourth video in my four-part meditation series. Today we're going to be looking at a very interesting topic, and that is meditation, mysticism, gnosis, and surrender. So I have a couple of notes in front of me here so I stay on track. And basically what we're going to do is look at some themes that I want to point out that I believe are essential for moving through this process of mysticism, Gnosticism, surrender to something perhaps more powerful than you had imagined or encountered before, and what you can do to help yourself through this process, what is actually quite normal with regard to moving through some of the themes that you're going to come up with. And surrender is a big theme here as well, because this is going to bring a lot of things to the fore that you couldn't have anticipated you would have, had to encounter or to deal with or to have to think about. So I have a nice little handy list of 4, 6, 8, I have about 10 or 12 things here that I want to look at. And everything starts with the be. A lot of it's be willing. So let's just get into it. So the very first one is be your own guide. Everyone is your teacher. Look to whom inspires you and improves you by using your own intuition and your own inspiration. So be your own guide. Let everyone be your teacher. Dogs, cats, plants, trees, a bad day, a good day, okay? Someone from your past, someone, the next place you go shopping, just everything, okay? You're always here. You're always right here. This is the only moment we ever get, right? Here we are, right now, right now, right now, right? The past is always going to be a memory. The future is always going to be a concept. We have some idea of what the future holds because of what we're doing right now. So the point of power is always right now. That's a fact. That's a fact. Okay? So if you treat every experience and everyone around you as your teacher, you will always be learning and you will always be elevating yourself. And remember, in every teacher-student experience, it goes both ways. You will always be the teacher and you'll always be the student. So keep that in mind as well. You're teaching others while they're teaching you. It's always symbiotic. Can you hear that? That is thunder. And you might have even seen a little bit of lightning. But I think it's kind of exciting, so let's keep going. Be responsible for the use of this tool and its outcomes. Meditation is a tool and is scientifically proven to change brain chemistry. You can look this up for yourself. It's common knowledge at this point. I think back in 2010, thereabouts, almost 10 years ago, they started doing, brain scans, just to find out if there was any scientific, if they can quantify scientifically that changes in the brain were occurring during the meditation experience. As it turns out, they do. And it sort of creates a muscle memory, right? You get in the new habit and then you become stronger and stronger and stronger. So you want to be responsible with that as you treat meditation as a tool toward well-being, health, and increased compassion. The third one I have is to be curious and willing. So if you've been watching the whole series, you've probably noticed that I've been saying be curious and willing the whole time. This is so important. So all I mean by that is to say we're going to stay curious and we're going to stay out of attachment, right? We're going to stay skeptical, but we're going to stay away from cynicism. We're going to be willing and we're going to go with the flow. That's it. You don't have to push anything. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to try anything. Okay? You're just there. and you're just open to experience, and you're just letting things that arise, and you're just going to let them go. And the fastest way, at least for me, you choose your own way that works for you. The fastest way for me, however, was to envision those thoughts, beliefs, ideas, people, or conversations that were ready, that I brought to the conscious and I'm ready to let go of. I just put them in a cloud, and then I let the cloud, float away. And if it took a long time, then I would just keep putting it in the cloud and let it flow away until it was gone. And then I never even have to think about it again. And now I can tackle something else, or something else will come up. So just be curious and just be willing. You want to enter this process with healthy skepticism versus expectant cynicism, okay? And I've gone into that in detail in my in video 3, the third part of this series. So if you want a little bit more information about skepticism versus cynicism, check out video 3. The next on my list is to be willing and able to discover the meaning of life and to create purpose in your life beyond the self. And what I mean by that is that things may switch for you. Your trajectory in life, your plans and goals that you were currently in the process of may switch, right? I'm not talking about relationships necessarily, but I am talking about goals and specific outcomes. So, for example, maybe you thought meditation would make you a better mother, for example, and maybe it will. But it'll do something more than that. You'll not only be a better mother, you'll be a more aware human being. See, we have more than one role in this life. We wear a lot of hats in this life. So you can go into it with a certain, I just want this to happen, which is what I did. I went into the meditation experiences because I just wanted some peace, right? And then all these other things happened I wasn't expecting, including changing the trajectory of my life. I would never have thought that I'd be doing YouTube videos 5 years ago, right? So, and I'm not saying that'll happen to you necessarily. I'm saying that something you had planned on doing may get switched up. And I think part of the willingness and the curiosity behind this experience could be that things might change. But also they could create purpose. You could encounter a different side of yourself or a different appreciation for yourself and your place in the world. You could find answers you weren't even looking for, okay? So all of this could be very, very exciting. So get used to the idea that things might change. Purpose may introduce itself to you in a way or at a time that you didn't really expect. And that is an opportunity, okay? This is very hopeful and exciting. So try not to think of that as a negative thing. Try to think of that as a very, very positive thing. What have I got here next? I have be willing and able to accept and appreciate what this process has to offer you versus expectations or society-imposed limitations. This kind of fits in with the one I just brought up. I think it's acceptance and appreciation is going to come naturally to the meditation process, especially the further that you're involved with it in the first place. But again, back with expectations or limitations, we're going to stay away from them totally, right? We don't want limitations on your meditation experience or what you've encountered there or what's available to you there. Because we have enough of that here. We have enough of that in the physical world. I mean, we're limited, for example, we don't have gills, so we need apparatus to go underwater. We don't have wings, so we need, we have certain limitations here. Not in meditation, not as an astral body. That's a unique and very particular type of freedom that you just can't get here. So the next thing I have on my handy little list here is to be willing to use language and concepts unfamiliar or unknown to you and to research anything unusual. So you don't have to be afraid of anything anymore. In the information age, you can look anything up. There's libraries anywhere you can go physically pick something up. You can ask an expert a question. Like I said in I think a previous video, I did reach out to spiritual practitioners, Buddhists, meditators, authors, researchers. I reached out to anybody about these experiences who might talk to me in order to come to terms with some of the things that I feel strongly that I came back with. And that is a profound understanding of a secret world, or another way to frame that would be to say, you know, different dimensions. That there is, you know, I don't claim to have all the answers about what's really going on. I don't want to say that. I just know that something is much, much larger and bigger than what we see and what we interpret here within the five senses, for example. So what I had to do as an example is I had to look up specific things that I hadn't even thought about before or considered before during my whole life. Because why would I use that language? Where would I use that language? You know, how would I use that language? I would never have thought, let's say as an example of the word astral travel. Okay, I was going to say something else, but let's just use the term astral travel. Why would I ever talk about that before a meditative experience where I had, you know, my light body, my essence, escape my physical body and leave what I only know to call, you know, a dome or the firmament, right? So these are all terms, for example, all those three terms, light body, astral travel, and firmament. Before my meditative experiences with OBE and astral travel, I would never have used those words. Why would I have? Not in my lexicon, not in my reading library, not in my peer group, okay? I was agnostic before all of these experiences. I was raised Catholic and left the church in my youth. So it's not like I was sitting there in a meditative experience for years and years and hoping for astral travel, light bodies, and firmaments, okay? That's not at all what happened. I did exactly what I've pointed out for you in the last several videos. I was just willing and curious and fascinated more than anything. And as I said in previous videos, the outcome of that, right? The fruit of those experiences has been so positive and so wonderful that I do consider them good experiences. But I did have to look that language up. I had to look up what a light body was. I didn't know really what that was except for what I saw in, I guess, my mind's eye, or, you know, as an outer body looking back at myself. You know, I can tell you what that looks like. I can tell you that there is something very definitive that I had to break through to get from this place, right? Terra, Earth, this realm, and then another realm. I know that for certain. Now, why the term firmament? I don't really know. Okay, like I said, I was raised Catholic. My Catholic family was not running around using the word firmament. I did not ever read the Bible in its entirety. I don't ever even recall hearing that word before in my life. But as I was journaling the experience and writing out the story that was unfolding during this, say, 12 or 16 months of meditation experiences, was creating, you know, a story. And it was chronological, right? This was fascinating. And I'll link to my book as well, just so you can check it out for yourself. It's very inexpensive. It's only $3. It's only 30 some odd pages on Amazon. But it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about here and why this is so profoundly important to me to discuss meditation and light bodies and so forth. But to put this simply, I had to look that language up and So when I was writing this story down, I was like, well, I had to break through the firmament. And it just came to me. But then at that point, I had to look it up. Okay, well, what does firmament mean? Is that the right word? Is that what I mean? Is that what I think I broke through? And it turns out, oh my gosh, it's a biblical term. It's supposed to separate the realms. It's a barrier. No one's supposed to be able to get through that unless you're deceased, okay? Or you have an astral travel or outer body experience, which outer body experience is not the same as astral travel in my estimation either. OBEs is that you can see yourself from a distance. That can happen during trauma, by the way. Childbirth, rape, fire, any physical or mental or psychological trauma. You can have an OBE. This is quantified throughout medicine. It can be very traumatic, but it's designed, it's your brain protecting you from a trauma. Astral travel, on the other hand, is where we're going to combine the term light body. And I keep doing this because this is what it looks like. Your light body is a vibrating ball of light. That's it. It's just it's vibrating. It's always moving. It never stops. And through reading through some of other experiences by other meditators who have achieved astral travel, for example, it's critical for you to maintain a spiral and not a straight line. I've read, for example, that the spiral is a positive encounter and that the straight line, if you were to just go upwards, for example, this may not feel positive. So if you are in a spiral position or you envision or feel yourself as a light body, as a spiral, that's very positive, go with that. I feel like I over-explained everything there and it was a little bit simple, but so anyway, be willing to use language and concepts that were formerly unfamiliar to you, because this is just, in my view, it's the next level of your own development and appreciation for being able to conceptualize these new experiences, which are very, very different from what you would normally experience. All right, let's get to the next couple of themes here. Be able to appreciate non-grasping and non-attachment. Learn to die while you're alive. And all I mean by that is that the ego, right? We want our ego to take a little bit of a back seat when it comes to these experiences, non-grasping, non-attachment, okay? For example, I feel confident and good and powerful when I have a meditative experience, so I'm going to keep meditating so I can keep having that experience. I would say that's grasping and that's attachment. And we're going to try to avoid that. What we can say is during that experience, we can say, my ego needs to take a little bit of a back seat here. My ego is not involved. And what is this doing to my spirit and my soul? How does my heart feel right now? And you're going to let yourself be able to sing with that, right? Your ego isn't really going to have a lot of fun in that environment. Your ego gets to have fun doing something here, hopefully for the betterment of the world around you. You can use your ego, for example, to better someone else's life, to fight for someone's rights, to write a report or make a speech or write a book or create a project or a group that helps other people. You know, it's, community housing. Use your ego toward that. That's where your ego belongs. Are you good at public speaking? Go public speak on behalf of someone who's in need, right? Are you really efficient at making money? Are you really efficient at computer programming? Okay, making cold calls, collecting stuff. Okay, what are you really, really good at that you're a little bit proud of? It might even come naturally to you, and you're going to use that to better everyone's life. That's what your ego, that's the highest use of your ego. Here in meditation, we're looking at, it's a little bit different than that. It's your id. It's the inside, it's the soul, it's the subconscious, it's the stuff that you don't even know what's going to come out yet, okay? It's the stuff that you've got buried that you don't even know that it's buried. So the only thing that we're going to reach for in meditation is release and compassion. And we're going to be willing and curious. And that's a very, very healthy way of going about it. We're going to avoid grasping and avoid attachment. So we have just a few left. I'm going to run through these fairly quickly. So be willing to change, grow, heal, improve, surrender, and to create new attitudes and realities. This is a little bit of a lengthier version of what I mentioned earlier with regard to, being willing to develop and grow and to change trajectory, beliefs, this type of thing. I would be willing to have things switched up. Be willing for maybe even some of your peer groups to change. Could even be your career. Could be your long-term goals. It's definitely going to be the way that you see yourself, the way that you feel about yourself, and the way that you consider yourself in the world. I really feel that if you come out of this experience positively, for example, you'll have so much more to offer everybody. And that is a beautiful thing. So use what you gain that's positive out of this for the betterment of everybody, because I truly believe this is the whole purpose. This is the point of, as Dr. Strassman said, of integration. Because otherwise it'll just be a whole bunch of ideas and concepts and experiences, and you'll just be sitting there looking at your journal and going, well, that's fascinating. What do I do with this, right? Integrate it. Use it to your advantage. You may also, back with the language and definitions and looking up concepts and ideas, you may even find that about yourself too. For example, I wouldn't consider myself spiritual, but I do consider myself a Gnostic at this point, right? I do have language and understanding and experience with something deeper and more profound and bigger than myself. And I couldn't have read it in a book. And no amount of documentaries or lectures or self-help tapes or retreats could have developed this in me, because it isn't about anybody else. You can't possibly become Gnostic by looking outside yourself. It's just, you can't. You can be spiritual, you can be religious, you can be learned, well-read, studied. You can even be a scholar. You can be a preacher, a teacher, or a priest or priestess and still not be Gnostic. It has to come from experience. This is the whole definition of Gnosticism, is a personal experience with the divine, or something that we can't touch, that we can only read about. So be willing to encounter unusual themes and instances in your life that will probably be very foundation shaking for you. But again, as a challenge and as a curiosity, they can be very, very exciting. Couple of final things here are: be willing to take responsibility for and control of your own life. So again, just tying into a sense of your experience, your life, yourself, your relationships, right? It's not about anybody else or what someone thinks of you, or you got to do it this way, or you got to do it at this time. You just say, instead of the blame game, whatever it is, if it's your past, present, or future, you're going to say, we're going to switch blame up with responsibility. What am I responsible for? How did that happen? Did I like it or not? How do I do it again, or how do I avoid that again? And then just be clear and firm with yourself and honest with yourself, and make definitive improvements. If you have to, make a vow with yourself, right? I vow to myself that I'm going to continue doing something positive for me. I vow to myself that I won't do that anymore. I won't think that anymore. You really help yourself out here. So be willing to take responsibility and control. You want to be willing to get out of your mind and your body and into the heart. So I mentioned this just a little while ago as well, also in the third video of this series. Many of us are in our feelings when it comes to anger and happiness, and that's it. And then sometimes maybe with lust, but that's a chemical reaction, right? So we're either super happy or super angry, and we really don't know what to do with the rest of our feelings. I mean, what are they even? And who has the time? So once we get out of our mind, we start bypassing all this garbage, we let it go. And once we can light body, astral travel out of our physical selves, you are left with something so profound and deep that I can only call a heart, or might also be known as consciousness, right? Like a consciousness. It's like the universal heartbeat. And that will shake you up. It's going to shake you up. So, be gentle with yourself and take it slow and accept it and integrate it. So one of the most beautiful things about this level of meditation, in my view, is that it is about the heart. And we need more of this than ever before on this planet, in this realm right now. We need a language of the heart. Again, I'm not talking romantic love. I'm not talking lust. I'm not talking, attraction chemicals. It's not about that. This is like the heart. This is feeling and compassion and joy and bliss and gratitude, okay? And wellness and goal setting and achievement and manners and beauty and neatness and tidiness and appreciation, okay? For you and your environment and everyone around you. And this is a ripple effect. It'll make an enormous difference in your own life and the lives of those around you. And it'll be a little bit every day that you do naturally. It's organic to the process. So again, you don't have to do anything. Just be. Just be present, be willing, be curious. And then the final thing that I want to leave you with today is to be willing to dedicate time and energy to this. So be willing to overcome frustration and isolation. So the further you get into it and the more deep and profound these experiences may become for you, you may find that it can get frustrating, especially if there is attachment, right? We're going to avoid attachment. Or especially if you want there to be an end to a story. So for example, in my book, it really has no end. There's no beginning, really. There's no end, really. I had to finish that on some note. I had to put an ending to the book. But I've had profound meditative astral travel experiences years after writing that book that I still write down and that I still illustrate that have nothing in particular to do with the story that was being told chronologically. So take it for what it is, use it for what it's worth, and really try to enjoy the process and allow yourself to grow. Be excited about this whole process. Don't be afraid to tell other people about it either. Some people might tune out or not be interested, but other people might really pick you up on this and really be excited by your experience. You can also be, like I was, for example, after these experiences, I have been encouraged by all of this to create that book, to create these videos, to, read tarot, to get more involved in and to start reading more about the occult and the esoteric language. So this is all grand new discovery for me. And again, backing up for a moment to the former video, I think it was video 3, where I talked about some lectures or audiobooks that you can listen to online. You can do that for not only Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, you can do that for Manly P. Hall, you can do that for Madame Blavatsky, you can do that for, any number of occultists and healers, and just strengthen your own language base, your own lexicon, and learn who your new tribe is too. I mean, you're going to speak a different language and you're going to be speaking differently to other people who are interested in this type of, astral travel, outer body experience, meditation, wellness, health, this type of thing. So trust me, you will get to talk to some very interesting people, and you'll start to draw in people who you may decide are, if not Gnostic themselves, maybe more spiritual or ethereal, right? People who have this sense or this feeling or this, this deep, say, knowing of a different language or a different world or different dimensions, but they don't meditate and they haven't read this literature, yet they still know there's something, right? Those are interesting people to talk to as well, the people who just know. And interesting enough, with the word Gnosis, right, which is knowledge, it's secret knowledge. It's a knowing, right? The Sophia, the knowledge, is that they know. It's the knowing by doing, okay? And that's different than reading about or learning about. So I'm going to leave it there. I am so curious for your questions. I hope that you enjoyed this series. Check them out. If you're watching this and this is your first one, check out the other ones. See if they're helpful or have any information that you need before asking some questions about this one. Or just shoot me some questions, shoot me a message. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you've had the same experiences, where you are in your meditation journey. And thank you so much for watching and joining me. I'm really excited for this series. I hope that you enjoyed it so much. And if you have more questions or want something else looked at in particular or in depth, let me know what those are as well, and I can talk about those in future videos. So until we meet in the next video, everyone, take excellent care of yourselves. Bye for now.